What's going on, guys? Today it is time for my second annual Top 10 Worst Team Performances video. I believe last year I titled it the Top 10 Worst Seasons, but I changed it as that might be confused to some as the worst years NASCAR's had as a sport. But anyway, regarding this video's criteria, I will only be ranking drivers who competed in over half the races for a single team in any given series. Otherwise, this list would probably end up full of a bunch of part-time backmarker teams, and that wouldn't be very reflective of the entire 2023 season. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to make this list limited to full-time drivers because there are always a few drivers, usually in trucks and Xfinity, that will get sidelined for road courses or just simply miss a few races here and there, but still race the vast majority of the season. And a great example of that is the first driver coming in at the 10th spot, Blaine Perkins, and the number 02 Our Motorsports team. Blaine, who's a lot further up on this list last year after his abysmal truck season in 2022, was originally tabbed to drive the 07 SS Greenlight racing machine full-time. But after only 5 races with them, he was let go. It was likely due to sponsorship issues, but at the same time, he only gave the 07 team a single top 30 with a P22 at Atlanta, and he crashed out early at Daytona. After sitting out a race, Blaine then signed with the 02 Our Motorsports team, where he competed in all but one of the remaining races. And in them, driving the same car that Brett Moffitt scored 5 top 10s in just 21 starts in 2022, Blaine Perkins did not score a single top 10, with his best being a P13 the spring Martinsville race. His best performance this season came in the fall Martinsville race, however, where he was the fastest in practice and was even set for a top 10 finish before getting caught up in the final lap pileup. Other than the Martinsville races, he was decent on the road courses, scoring top 20s at Portland, the Chicago Street Course, and Road America, but he also failed to qualify for the fall Texas race, and with a 28.6 place average finish, really had one of the most lackluster seasons out of anyone in the Xfinity series. Blaine will be running the full schedule for RSS racing in 2024, so hopefully he'll have more success there. Next up in 9th is Spencer Boyd and the number 12 Young's Motorsports team. Spencer, who also made this list last year, did not improve in the slightest from his miserable 2022 season. In fact, he came impressively close to mirroring it, as he once again scored no top 10s. He had the exact same 30.3 place average starting position, but he had a 0.1 place better average finish with a 27.5. But overall, I would say his season was worse this year because while he failed to qualify for Talladega in 2022, he failed to qualify 3 times this year, including at Talladega again, where he scored his only career win back in 2019. It's not like he was even getting involved in crashes either, as he only crashed out 1 time, but with a best finish of 16th coming at Bristol Dirt, he didn't have a single notable performance all year long. This was reflected in the final standings, where despite attempting the full schedule, he finished worse than his part-time teammate Caden Honeycutt, who only attempted 12 races. In the 8th spot is our first Cup team with Ty Dillon and the number 77 Spire Motorsports entry. The team rather embarrassingly finished the year as the lowest full-time Cup driver in points and the only one without a single top 10 finish. Meanwhile, Ty's teammate Corey LaJoie put together a career season with 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and a 25th place points finish. His best finish was a P11 in the Summer Daytona race, and just like Spencer Boyd, there were absolutely no memorable performances or even crashes to remember his season by. Ty has now had 3 pretty miserable seasons following the close of his longtime Germain Racing team at the end of the 2020 season, so some fans have become pretty vocal about whether he even belongs in the Cup Series at this point. Regardless, it has been heavily rumored that he'll be driving the Colleague Racing number 16 car at least part-time in 2024, so hopefully he'll finally be able to turn it around and get some good finishes under his belt. Oh, and after I made the original script for this video, it was announced that Ty will drive full-time in the Truck Series for Rackley Wars, so hopefully he can return to victory lane with them and regain some confidence. Coming in 7th on this list is one of the most previously hyped-up driver team combos going into the 2023 season of Hailie Deegan and the number 13 ThorSport Racing team. Heading into 2023, many of our fans thought that she was held back for the past 2 years at David Gilliland Racing, and that this year, with a championship-caliber ThorSport team, she would finally have a breakout season. But it was really anything but a breakout, as she only scored 2 top 10s, and with a 21.0 average finish, she had a slightly worse average finish than in her rookie season. Additionally, she was never even remotely in contention for any wins, and never even ran inside the top 10 consistently throughout a single race. And this was all while her teammate Ben Rhodes won the championship, Ty Majeski won at IRP and dominated at Richmond, and even a washed-up Matt Crafton still made the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, Haley ranked 19th in the final standings and was also never even close to making the playoffs at any point. For 2024, she signed on full-time with the AM Racing Xfinity Series team, so considering they were a regular top 10 threat with Brett Moffitt this year, hopefully Haley will finally be able to find her groove there. Next in 6th is Joe Graf Jr. and the number 38 RSS Racing team. 2023 was supposed to be a sort of breakout year for Graf as well, as in addition to driving for RSS, he was given the opportunity to make select starts in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 machine. But despite making 6 starts in the 19 car, which won with Ryan Truex, Ty Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin, Joe only mustered up 2 top 10s in it, with his best being a P9 at Kansas. That said, his best finish of this season came with RSS Racing at Daytona, where he came home 7th place. So while he was behind the wheel of much better equipment than he was in the past 3 years as his Greenlight Racing, Joe only scored 3 top 10s, had a pretty bad average finish of 25.3, and posted 6 crash-related DNFs. Overall, it was another less than desirable season for Graf, and worst of all was that he recorded a slightly better points finish and average finish with SS Greenlight Racing in his rookie year. Nevertheless, he has been signed back part-time with Joe Gibbs Racing for 2024, so he will have another chance to prove himself. In the 5th spot is Jack Wood and the number 51 Kyle Busch Motorsports team. After Jack failed to score a single top 10 finish last year for GMS Racing, many fans were pretty surprised to see him get signed part-time to one of the best teams in the series for 2023. And in his 13 starts for them, he did not come close to meeting the expectations of a KBM driver. He only scored 2 top 10s with the best of 9th at Texas, but he was sort of in contention to win one race. That was at Atlanta, where he was leading with 22 laps to go, but spun out after a bump from John Hunter Nemechek. It was pretty clear that the truck's speed was not the issue whatsoever, as while Wood had a pretty bad average finish of 21.3, he qualified an average place of 10.2. For 2024, Wood will be running 14 races for the McAnally Hilgeman Racing Truck Series team, while also running full-time in the ARCA West Series for Bill McAnally Racing. I think going back to ARCA is a good idea for him, as he did show some improvement in trucks this year, but he's still in need of a lot more development if he wants to continue progressing in NASCAR. Coming in 4th is Brandon Jones and the number 9 Junior Motorsports team. For many years, Brandon Jones was widely considered a NASCAR bust, as he failed to score his first Xfinity win until 2019 in his 4th full-time season with top-caliber equipment. But after that, he's since become a staple of the Xfinity Series, winning on occasion and consistently finishing top 10 in the points. Given that, when it was announced that Jones would be moving from Joe Gibbs Racing to Junior Motorsports in 2023, many expected that he would at least get a win or two and make the playoffs, or maybe even have a breakout year. But instead, he failed to win a single race, failed to make the playoffs, and scored his fewest number of top 10 finishes since his sophomore slump in 2017. Whether it be due to driver mistakes, crashes, or just slow cars, Jones and the number 9 were noticeably worse in every measurable category compared to their teammates, and worst of all, Jones only led 48 laps all season long. Arguably, his best performance was at Kansas in the fall, where he finished runner-up to John Hunter Nemechek, but even then, he wasn't anywhere near striking distance of Nemechek at the finish, and he only led 2 laps that race. Thanks to his Menard sponsorship, Jones was signed back to Junior Motorsports for 2024, so hopefully he'll be able to bounce back and prove that this season was just a fluke. Next up in 3rd is Noah Gragson and the number 42 Legacy Motor Club team. Even prior to his suspension, Noah was on track to have one of the most disappointing rookie seasons in quite some time, as right after winning 8 Xfinity races in 2022 and finishing 2nd in points, he did not score a single top 10 in his first 21 Cup starts this year. His best result by far was a P12 in the Spring Atlanta race, and besides his 5 crash-related DNFs, the most memorable moment for him in 2023 was him repeatedly running into barriers in the Chicago Street Course race, a race in which he surprisingly made to the finish in 25th place. Overall, Noah's rookie season was nothing short of a disaster, but because he was a rookie and even his experienced teammate Eric Jones was struggling early in the season, I am sparing him from the number 1 spot. It was announced a few weeks ago that Gragson will be returned to the Cup Series in 2024 to replace Eric Almirola in the Stewart-Haas Racing number 10 car. And while Stewart-Haas has fallen off pretty hard in the past few years, it should still be a step up from Legacy Motor Club, or at least 2023 Legacy Motor Club. Anyway, Gragson will definitely need to step it up this coming season if he wants to remain in top Cup Series equipment, so hopefully he'll be able to do that. In the runner-up spot on this list is one that you probably didn't see coming, that being Garrett Smithley and the number 4 JD Motorsports team. At first, you might be thinking I'm being too hard on a small and underfunded team, but in this case I'm being more so critical of the driver. Originally, Garrett Smithley was signed to drive the number 99 car for BJ McLeod Motorsports full-time, but after failing to qualify for the first 2 races and finishing 36th at Las Vegas, he became the first scheduled full-time driver of the season to be released from their contract. Not a good start. After that, he drove for DGM Racing in the next race before he signed with JD Motorsports to become the primary driver of their number 4 car. And unfortunately, the DNQs kept on coming, as in 16 attempts for the JD Motorsports team, he failed to qualify for 5 of them. Prior to 2023, neither the team nor the driver were prone to missing that many races, and let's just say that the other part-time driver of the number 4 car this season, Kyle Weatherman, had no issues making the field in his 10 starts for them. In this case, there was a pretty clear culprit of the bad performance, and honestly I have no idea what happened. Garrett has been racing for small Xfinity and Cup teams since 2015, and in my opinion has always been a pretty good asset for them. Even just last year in his 6 Cup starts for Rick Ware Racing, Smithley recorded a P21 at Auto Club and a P23 at Texas, which to me at least was pretty impressive. Plus, as I already stated, he has previously never struggled to qualify for races, as while he racked up 7 total DNQs this year, he only had 2 DNQs ever in NASCAR before that, one in the Truck Series and one in the Cup Series. Anyway, with the best finish of 16th at both Daytona and Talladega, Garrett had a truly nightmare-inducing season, and I can only hope that he's able to improve in 2024. But before moving on to a season that was somehow even worse than that, it's time to go over our 2 honorable or dishonorable mentions. The first is Jeffrey Earnhardt and the number 44/45 Alpha Prime Racing team, who if you watched my top 10 free agents video, you've already heard me rant about a little. But yeah, Earnhardt did absolutely nothing in a scheduled full-time season for Alpha Prime Racing with no top 10s, a best finish of 11th in the Summer Daytona race, and an average finish of 25.8. After showing a lot of promise last year with a runner-up finish at Talladega and a couple of other good runs for Sam Hunt Racing, I expected Earnhardt to at least contend for a few top 10s here and there, especially in the super speedways. But instead, he did so poorly that he was relegated to part-time status around halfway through the season. As of this recording, he still has nothing lined up for next season, but I imagine he'll still be racing in NASCAR in some capacity, whether it be part-time or full-time. Our other dishonorable mention is another one from the Xfinity Series, that being Connor Mozek and the Sam Hunt Racing number 24 team. In his 24 starts for the team, Mozek at least had a few memorable and honestly really impressive races, with a P5 at Watkins Glen and a P8 at Portland. But other than that, much of the rest of his season was plagued with crashes and, well, more crashes. So while his teammate Kaz Grala was regularly a contender for top 10 finishes, Mozek posted 6 crash-related DNFs, damaged his car in a lot more races than that, and had a pretty miserable average finish of 26.1. Furthermore, Mozek was given 3 races in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 car, and he had no luck in any of them. At the Chicago Street Course, he came down the pit road while running in 12th place right before rain made the race official, and was thus credited with a 35th place finish. At Pocono, he crashed out late, and then at Road America, he suffered a rear gear failure while running in the top 15. Really, the only thing keeping me from putting Mozek in the 24 team on the main list is that he is extremely inexperienced, and through the torn-up race cars, you can see quite a bit of potential in him. And now finally, for the number 1 worst team performance of 2023 in all of NASCAR, we're taking it back to the Cup Series with Austin Dillon and the number 3 Richard Childress Racing team. There were actually quite a few drivers in Cup who took a big step back this season, such as Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric, but if they took a big step back, Austin Dillon fell off a cliff in 2023. His average finish of 21.8 was his worst ever out of all of his 10 full-time Cup seasons, as was his abysmal points finish of 29th. But when considering that he scored 1 top 5 and 7 top 10s, you might be wondering how he did so poorly overall. Sure, those numbers were worse than in 2022, but he's had fewer top 10s in some of his earlier seasons. Oh yes, because he had 10 crash-related DNFs. That puts Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on his worst year to shame. I know that some people might say that a lot of them weren't his fault or something like that, but when you're talking about a 10-year veteran Cup racer at this point, that's just pretty unacceptable. Austin will, of course, be back at Richard Childress Racing in 2024, and for his sake, I really hope that he'll be able to avoid the carnage in 2024 and put this past season in his rearview mirror forever. But that's all I've got to say for today. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like these. Also, let me know down in the comments whether you agree with this list or not, and who are some other teams or drivers I didn't mention that you think had equal or worse seasons. But yeah, that's everything for this video. More Worthy That Bad videos are on the way, as well as a new series I'm working on. But until next time, peace out.